I need you to come over to my house and hook up with me every day after school.
My God.
Have you selected a practice partner yet?
I should be collecting data from my fellow students.
I can't sexualize you.
Welcome to Screen Recaps, and today we are going to recapping the movie Sex Appeal. The movie opens with Avery Hanson White, an overachieving high school student who excels at her strengths but avoids activities where she feels out of place. Despite her record-breaking GPA and early acceptance to MIT, she has little interest in prom or having many friends. This year's STEAMCon challenges Avery to design an app solving a personal problem. After school, she meets up with Larson, her childhood best friend and frequent science experiment subject. Though he lacks her passion for STEM, their partnership ends when Larson tries to kiss Avery and she punches him instead. Though relationships don't appeal to her, Avery has a long-distance boyfriend, Casper, whom she met at a past STEAMCon. When asked if she'll bring him to prom, Avery says prom isn't a priority for her. Larson tries to implicitly persuade her to go to prom with him, but she rejects his offer. At home, Avery realizes she has no weaknesses after brainstorming ways to improve her life. Soon after, her boyfriend Casper video calls saying he wants to take their relationship to the next level when they meet at STEAMCon. Avery panics and immediately shuts her laptop, as sex is the only topic she knows nothing about. Raised by her three moms, Susie, renowned artist Deb, and bonus mom Kim, Avery has no one to advise her on sexual matters with men. She tells Susie about Casper's intentions and her own thoughts about having sex later. Susie advises Avery that sex should be messy, not perfect. Returning to her room, Avery decides to create an app to help master sex and guide her through her first time with Casper. She began by programming the AI and developing the algorithm, but soon realized she needed more data from real-world experiments. The next day in sex ed class, the teacher refused to help, so she approached her mom, Susie, again, who offered her books like 50 Shades of Grey, but she declined them. Instead, her mom suggested interviewing classmates for insights. She started by asking the cheerleaders, dancers, and athletes, but they lacked experience. They advised speaking to popular student Danica McCallum, who after school provided details on preferences and finding a practice partner. Immediately, she asked Larson to meet at her house daily, confusing everyone. Though initially refusing since he owed loyalty to friends and had a crush, her persistence wore him down and he agreed to experiment again despite having a new crush. Lars and Avery arrive at his room, where he is instructed to follow a pre-written protocol. Before beginning, Larson states that love makes a good lover, but Avery disagrees. She believes love and sex are separate. Avery then tells Lars to kiss her, which he does, and he plays music to create ambiance. They cuddle while listening to the song until Avery asks him to move his hand under her shirt. For the first time, Avery feels immense pleasure being touched by a man, but Lars goes too far, and she leaves. At home, Avery continues developing an algorithm for her application. The next day, Avery interviews classmates and visits a potter to learn about male anatomy. After gaining more knowledge, she cannot avoid seeing it everywhere. Avery returns to Lars' place, saying she needs hands-on experience. As expected, he permits her to examine him thoroughly. The scene suddenly shifts to Lars role-playing as an astronaut preparing for liftoff while Avery fuels his imaginary spacecraft. After a dramatic countdown, Lars pretends the ship blasts off and cheers excitedly. He offers to return the favor, but Avery misunderstands, saying she needs to analyze experimental data since the mission was a success. Realizing there are gaps in her research, Avery visits Danica, who teaches her nervous friend about self-pleasure, suggesting she picture her crush. Following this advice, Avery returns home and heads straight for the bathroom, using the showerhead to masturbate. The water grows uncomfortably hot and she has to press a cold compress between her legs. Larson calls, cautioning her not to overthink natural urges, but Avery changes topics, proposing phone sex. Larson tries various provocative subjects before hitting on academic passions that finally arouse her. She was enjoying the conversation until Lars mentioned her winning STEAMCon. Suddenly Carlson appeared, holding the trophy, which ruined the mood. 8 days before STEAMCon, Avery tried interviewing some classmates during math class. One classmate, Frank, discussed erogenous zones in graphic detail until a woman in the back, Marla, randomly offered to demonstrate. This distracted the teacher, but the students disguised the adult topic as math, pleasing him. Meanwhile, Marla continued until she reached a climax and screamed in delight. After class, Larson and Avery hurried to his place to practice what she had learned. Larson acted as an explorer descending into a colorful, narrow tunnel, occasionally touching the walls. This thrilled Avery until he found a door that teleported them into a swimming scene, delighting her. She decided to name her app Sex Appeal. Larson wanted to escalate things, but Avery insisted they remain professional and focus on the experiments, disappointing him. He then hypothesizes that chemistry is achieved when love meets sexual stuff and vice versa, but she disagrees, stating that love has nothing to do with sexual experiences. Avery compiles all the data and finally finishes the application on time. The night before SteamCon, Larson approaches Avery and asks her to go to the Science Museum with him, but as expected, she declines the invitation. He questions her feelings towards him since they have been doing a lot of stuff together, but her answers disappoint him, so he decides to go there alone despite having 2 tickets. The next day, Avery realizes she feels something different towards Lars, but denies the feelings. After Casper's presentation, they immediately head to the hotel room, and the pair starts doing stuff by following the suggestion from her application. However, Avery doesn't enjoy the moment like she did with Larson, even after following all the directions. Not long after, she decides to stop and leaves the room. At this moment, she realizes she has fallen in love with Larson. The following morning, Avery withdraws her presentation because she knows the application didn't work for her, so she walks off the stage in tears. This leads to Casper's automatic victory in the competition. That night, Avery visits Larson, who has grown weary of her false promises. He states that he's done waiting for her to change her mind about him. Larson realizes Avery doesn't care for anyone, especially him, so he's glad he didn't sleep with her. Reflecting on their interview, Avery finally believes love and sex are intertwined. The next day, Kim suggests Avery speak from her heart and be honest with Lars. Avery interrupts Lars's music practice and admits he was right about love and sex. However, this just makes her look foolish, and Lars must escort her out. Avery reveals her true feelings, but it's too late. Lars has moved on. She asks him to prom, but he refuses, uninterested. In the end, Avery declares her love, but Lars walks away in silence. While crying alone, a teacher approaches her and imparts a life lesson that uplifts her spirits. At prom, Larson dances happily with his crush, as Avery watches from afar, alone yet again. This time, though, Avery accepts that some things can't be forced and finds joy in his happiness.
I thought I was